Hey everybody, Pastor Hans here, and Happy New Year's. This is the first week of the new year, and our theme for the Daily Dose this week is New Year, New Life. It's this time of the year that we get reflective, we pause for a moment, and we look toward the new year, and many of us, we get after a new goal in the new year. We might get on a diet plan. We might say, okay, this year I'm going to exercise. Maybe it's this year you're going to start something new. There's that new business venture. Maybe it's that new job you're going to go after. It's during this time of the year that we look ahead and we wonder, where are we being led in the new year? Well, what I want to talk to you about today is most of the time, in most of our lives, in order to say yes to one thing, we have to say no to something else. Does that make sense? In order to say yes to that new goal or that exercise plan or that new diet, it means we've got to say no to something else. Which really means that there are things in our past, things that maybe we did in our past or were a part of our past, that we have to let go of and leave behind in order to accomplish what we might be called to in the future. This is how it was for the Israelites. The Israelites were led out of Egypt. Moses said, "Let my people go, Pharaoh," and led God's people through the Red Sea, across the wilderness. And it was out in the wilderness that those Israelites, knowing that God was leading them somewhere, they began to grumble. They began to whine. They began to complain. They complained there wasn't enough food and that life out in the desert was dismal. They began to complain because they couldn't let go of their past. They were having a hard time letting go of all the comforts, all the familiar, all the predictable that they had in Egypt, even though in Egypt they were slaves under Pharaoh. The prophet Isaiah writes these words, "I am the Lord your God, your Holy One, the Creator of Israel, the Creator of all of you. I'm your King. Thus says the Lord, who makes a way in the sea. I led you through the Red Sea, a path in the mighty waters, who brings out chariot and horse, army and warrior. They lie down. They cannot rise. They are extinguished, quenched like a wick. Do not remember the former things or consider the things of old," he says. "I am about to do a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert." In Isaiah chapter 43, verse 19, "I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert." My wife and I have had opportunities to travel. I did my internship out in the Pacific Northwest. We had a beautiful location, beautiful church where I got to do my internship out in the state of Washington. We traveled there for 1 year. And do you know this? We filled a 24-foot U-Haul with all of our stuff and moved that all out to the state of Washington for 1 year. And it was a beautiful year. It was a wonderful year, but we had all the comforts. We had all our stuff. We had a beautiful house they gave us, a 4-bedroom house. We had a paycheck. I mean, life was really good. Now, I want to contrast that with another experience of travel my wife and I had. We had the privilege of studying in Germany for a summer. We spent 3 months in Germany. And do you know how much we packed for those 3 months in Germany? We packed 1 backpack full of our stuff. That's all we brought. And you know what? Rather than staying in one place, rather than having all the creature comforts, we traveled all over Europe. It was amazing. It was probably the most eye-opening experience of our life. We experienced geography like we'd never experienced before. We experienced culture in new ways. This language school where my wife and we studied, there were people from all over the world there. We became friends with people from Spain and places like Iceland. We learned more about religion. We learn more traveling just the two of us about our marriage than any other experience taught us. We learned language. We learned about life. We developed new dreams for ourselves. Now, here's the thing. We had to leave some things behind in order to discover something new. We had to sort of simplify. We had to say no to some things in order to say yes to other things. I wonder if that's how it was for the Israelites, if that's what Isaiah was reminding them. Back in Egypt, yes, there were some comforts you experienced. Yes, you were in slavery, but your life was predictable. But I want to suggest that you need to leave some of those things behind, Isaiah said, in order to experience all God is preparing for you in the promised land. It's the same for us. As we begin this new year, here's my question for you. What do you need to say no to in order to say yes to something else in this new year? What do you need to sort of leave behind to say, that served me well last year or over the last 10 years, or maybe it didn't serve you well, but you couldn't just let go of it? What do you have to leave behind in order for God to do a new thing in your life? Hey, folks, it's a new year. It's time for a new life. Happy New Year, and thanks for tuning in today. If you're watching on cable access, maybe you'll invite a friend to watch with you tomorrow. If you're watching on Facebook, like us, share us. If you're watching on YouTube, you can always hit that little bell so you get notifications each time we put out another Daily Dose. Folks, thanks so much for tuning in. Happy New Year.